He drove right into him. At least, that's what the replay looked like. And the moment it happened, in front of thousands of fans at Nashville Super Speedway, everyone in the garage, everyone watching at home, and one very angry spotter on the radio all came to the same conclusion. Austin Dillon wrecked Brad Keselowski on purpose. But here's where it gets really interesting. NASCAR reviewed the data. They pulled the throttle traces. They analyzed the radio. They looked at everything. And then they said, nothing happened. No penalty. No fine. No suspension. And that decision, it just made everything worse. Because Brad Keselowski didn't stay quiet. He watched that replay. And then he said 4 words that the entire NASCAR world is still talking about. Turnabout's fair play. So what actually happened out there at Nashville? Was this a racing incident, or did Austin Dillon get away with something? And more importantly, is this story actually over? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to have a completely different picture of what went down that. And trust me, the full story is way more complicated than the replay makes it look. Before we get into it, if you follow NASCAR and you want the real story behind the headlines, the controversy, the drama, and the garage talk that never makes it onto the broadcast, hit that subscribe button right. This channel exists for fans who want more than just race results. We break it all the way down. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's get into this. To understand what happened on lap 193, you have to go back to lap 145, because this story doesn't start with a crash. It starts almost 50 laps earlier, with a moment that most cameras barely caught, but that Austin Dillon absolutely did not forget. Here's the setup. Nashville Super Speedway was already a mess that night. Wrecks, brake issues, frustrated drivers, caution after caution. The kind of race where everyone's nerves are already stretched thin before the halfway point even hits. And then, around lap 145, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. makes a late move toward pit road. The cars behind him have to react fast. Keselowski checks up, moves around traffic, and then comes back down the track, right in front of Austin. Dillon gets into the back of Keselowski. He spins. His car gets shuffled back through the pack. Now, from Keselowski's side, this is just NASCAR. Chain reaction in traffic. These things happen. But from inside the number 3 car, that felt like Keselowski caused his spin. That felt personal, even if it wasn't meant to be. And Austin Dillon remembered. That's the thing about NASCAR drivers that fans sometimes forget. These guys are not robots. They're competing at 180 miles per hour, running on adrenaline, trading inches of space with cars they've had problems with. They carry those moments with them through an entire race. And that emotion was still sitting in Austin Dillon's chest when the cars got back together less than 50 laps later. Lap 193. The field stacks up coming off turn 4 and down the front stretch. Cars start bunching. Drivers are moving, reacting, looking for space. Keselowski moves low. Dillon follows him down. And then, contact. Dillon hits the back of the number 6 car. Keselowski's car rotates. He spins. He crashes. His race is done. Now, the timing of that crash mattered more than the crash itself, because everyone watching, the broadcast team, the fans in the stands, the people at home, they all knew about lap 145. They all knew Dillon had already had a problem with Keselowski that same night. And then this happened. Before the dust had even settled, before Keselowski had even climbed out of his car, his spotter, TJ Majors, was already on the radio. And what he said changed everything. Majors told Keselowski, "The 3 wrecked you on purpose. He's mad at you from earlier." That's it. That one sentence on the radio, that one word, purpose, flipped the switch. Because now fans weren't just watching a crash. They were watching a potential act of retaliation at 180 miles per hour. And they started watching that replay very, very differently. They watched Dillon's line. They watched whether he followed Keselowski. They watched the moment of contact. They tried to figure out, did he have time to lift? Did he choose not to? Was any of this intentional? And the fans split instantly. Half saw a racing incident in a stacked-up pack. The other half saw Austin Dillon getting his revenge. But here's the part that really added fuel to the fire. When Keselowski got to the infield care center, when the adrenaline was still pumping and the replay was still fresh, he spoke. And he didn't cool things down. Keselowski's words after the crash were measured at first. He said he didn't know exactly what happened. He said he got hit from behind. He said he couldn't put himself in someone else's head. And then he watched the replay. And after watching it, he said this: "It's pretty clear he wrecked me intentionally after seeing that replay." So, Turnabout's fair play. Now, just sit with that for a second. Turnabout's fair play. That is not the kind of thing a driver says when he's ready to let something go. That is a warning. A quiet, controlled, very deliberate warning. He's not screaming. He's not pointing fingers in the garage. He's not demanding a penalty. He's just letting everyone, including Austin Dillon, know that he hasn't forgotten and that he doesn't consider this finished. When a former champion says something like that to a camera after a race, NASCAR fans notice. Other drivers notice. Teams notice. Because everyone understands what it means. Now on the other side, what was Dillon saying? His radio after the contact told a completely different story. His reaction in the moment was confusion. He said, "Why did everyone check up there? I was already on the brake pedal." That's the Dillon version. He's saying he wasn't going for Keselowski. He's saying the field suddenly slowed, and by the time he reacted, the contact was already happening. So now you have two completely opposite stories coming from two drivers in the same incident. And NASCAR had to figure out which one matched the data. NASCAR moved quickly. Senior Director of Racing Communications Amanda Ellis went on NASCAR's Holler Talk podcast and explained exactly what officials found. She said that Scott Miller pulled all the data from the incident, and they knew pretty quickly that Austin was off the throttle at the time of contact. Both drivers were. There was no situation where Dillon was in the gas when the contact happened. And that matters enormously, because intent is hard to prove in NASCAR. If a driver is going to wreck someone on purpose, the data usually shows it. You see the throttle stay open to close. You see the car hold a line when it should move. You see something that says, this wasn't an accident. In this case, the throttle trace showed Dillon had lifted from full throttle coming out of turn 4 down to about 17% at the moment of contact. That made a penalty almost impossible to justify, because NASCAR can penalize clear intent. They've done it before, but they need the evidence to back it up. Not just angry radio chatter, not just a suspicious replay, not just a spotter's opinion. Without stronger proof, NASCAR ruled it a racing incident. No penalty, no fine, no suspension. Austin Dillon keeps his points and moves on. But does this actually settle anything? No, not even close. When Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Steve Letarte broke it down, their takes were actually more nuanced than most people expected. Letarte didn't pretend Dillon was completely clean. He said clearly, yes, the 3 wrecked the 6. That happened, but then he added something important. He said he didn't believe it was intentional. He pointed out that Dillon was wide open until just before the contact and asked, could he have lifted completely? And then he gave the honest answer that most fans don't want to hear. He said that's not what race car drivers do. That's a real point. Drivers in traffic don't slam off the throttle the way a regular person would hit the brakes. They're managing momentum, watching the car behind them, reacting to cars in front of them, all at once at speed. Lifting completely in that situation isn't the instinct. Modulating is. So when Letarte says Dillon could have done more, he's probably right. But doing more and doing it intentionally are two different things. Letarte also said that looking at all the circumstances, all the cars around them, he just didn't believe a driver was going to retaliate at that point on the track. Frustration, yes. Blame, absolutely. But deliberate retaliation? He didn't buy it. Dale Jr. had a more personal take, because he was caught between two people he knows well. TJ Majors is his podcast co-host, his friend, and Majors still believes, even after everything, that Dillon was looking for Keselowski. He said he thinks Dillon was mad from earlier, and that he was watching for the number 6 car when the opportunity came. But Dale Jr. pushed back. He said he talked personally with Austin Dillon, and in that conversation, he believed him. Dale said if Dillon had done it on purpose, he would have told him, and he didn't. His explanation of the crash was the cleanest version of the racing incident argument. He said everybody was checking up. He said Dillon was following the same path as everyone else when Noah Gragson slid up the track and cars started scattering. He didn't drive into Keselowski. He ran out of room and ran out of time. So NASCAR made their call. Racing incident. Case closed. But is it? Because Keselowski's Turnabout's fair play is not going away. That line is going to follow this story for weeks. When the number 3 and number 6 show up at the same track, everyone's going to remember it. When they're running side by side, late in a stage, the broadcast is going to mention it. When anything happens between them on the track, this Nashville night is going to get brought back up. Drivers remember, spotters remember, crew chiefs remember, and this is still early in the season. They're going to be around each other a lot more before this year. There's also a bigger issue here that this incident really puts a spotlight on. NASCAR consistency. Fans have watched other drivers get penalized for contact before. They've seen fines, probation, points deductions. And now they're watching Austin Dillon walk away from it. So they want to know, where exactly is the line? Is it throttle data? Is it the angle of impact? Is it whether you said something aggressive on the radio? Is it whether someone important is watching? The honest answer is it's all of it. NASCAR looks at intent, evidence, and context together. Every incident is different. Every data set is different. And that process, even when it's done correctly, can look inconsistent from the outside. In this case, NASCAR is saying the evidence pointed to a racing incident, not to retaliation. And when you look at the throttle data, the circumstances, and the analyst reactions, there's actually a reasonable argument for that conclusion. But here's the uncomfortable truth. There's also just enough in the other direction. The timing, the lap 145 history, the spotter's reaction, Keselowski's own words, to make Dillon's side feel like a very convenient. And that's exactly why NASCAR arguments like this one never fully die. There's enough on both sides to keep the debate alive forever. This kind of controversy isn't new in NASCAR, and it's worth remembering that. Drivers have always carried grudges through races. The sport has a long and complicated history with payback, some of it celebrated, some of it penalized, some of it debated for years. What's changed is the data. NASCAR now has tools that previous generations never had. Throttle traces, SMT data, telemetry that can tell officials within seconds whether a driver was on the gas, off the gas, braking, or wide open at any given moment on the track. In many ways, that's a good thing. It removes the purely emotional decision. It gives officials something objective to point to, but it also creates a new kind of frustration. Because the data can tell you what a driver was doing. It can't tell you what he was thinking. It can't tell you whether Austin Dillon followed Keselowski down because of the racing line or because he was angry. Intent is the one thing the data can't fully measure. And as long as that gap exists between what happened and why it happened, incidents like this one will always have two valid versions of the same. So here's where everything stands right now. Austin Dillon has no penalty, no fine, no suspension. He keeps his points and moves forward like nothing happened. Brad Keselowski leaves Nashville with a wrecked race car, a lot of anger, and 4 words that sound more like a promise than a statement. Dale Jr. and Letarte both lean toward racing, and TJ Majors still believes Dillon was looking for. And NASCAR has made their position clear. Without stronger proof of intent, they are not going to act. But none of that means this is over. This is one of those NASCAR stories that lives in the garage long after the official case is closed. And honestly, whatever happens the next time these two are running together on the track, that might tell us more about what really happened at Nashville than any throttle trace ever could. So, did NASCAR get this right? Did Austin Dillon get away with one? Or was this genuinely just a messy racing incident in a stacked-up pack? Let me know exactly what you think in the comments below. Drop your verdict. I want to hear it. And if you're new here, this is NASCAR Report Today. We cover the real stories from inside the garage. Not just results, not just highlights. The drama, the controversy, the rivalries, and everything that makes this sport unlike anything else. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications, because there is a lot more coming, and you do not want to miss what happens. I'll see you in the next one.